Welcome, I'm Richard, and if you like hearing about macroeconomics and how fiat is going to die, then sit back and relax. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on why I think oil and gold are going to be going higher into the future. So, why is oil going to go higher into the future? It's very simple. Government intervention. So energy companies, more specifically fossil fuel companies, are being punched in the face by the government from three sides. They're getting hit on taxes, they're getting hit on regulation, and they're getting hit on investment. So taxes, what we're seeing now, where if these fossil fuel companies make what is deemed too much profit, they're then going to get additional taxes put onto them. So we've had this in the UK where they have windfall taxes. So they're deemed, because they're bad, because they're getting fossil fuels from the earth and then producing this into diesel and petrol. They're evil because of that. So now, because they're making money off that, or too much money, they now have to pay. They have to pay additional taxes. But all this is actually going to do is reduce the amount of capital that they can then do to reinvest into the company itself. So when it has to find new fossil fuels to try and drill into or find or whatever, it's not going to have the capital to actually go out and find them. It's going to be a lot harder for them to actually get those resources. And then the next step is the regulation. So governments are messing up these energy companies by affecting them with where they can drill or where they can excavate to basically get that energy. So then if there's land which they think they can get oil from, the government can say, no, you're not allowed to drill there. So then all that's going to do is further reduce the amount of demand, where the government then could say, instead of X oil company being able to be there, we want to use this land to put solar panels or wind farms or whatever. So they can't use their own money so first they can't use their own money to go out and find new drillings, because they now have less money through taxes being taken from them. If they do find anywhere where they think it's a good place to access those resources, they're going to have troubles with the government getting permission to then access it. And then the third is that they have less investment, because now we have ESG scores for all these energy companies. They're deemed bad, so they now have a low ESG score, so they're going to get less investment put into them. So once again, they're going to have less capital to then go out and get energy. So then in the future, there's going to be less production of oil or natural gas, which is obviously then just going to increase the price for it. So that's the first aspect of it, is government meddling. So the second part is to do with the oil suppression that is currently happening. So at the moment, America is selling off all their oil reserves at millions of barrels a day to reduce the oil price. So it makes Joe Biden basically look better. Or it makes the Democrats look better, shall I say. But then they only have so much reserves that they can keep selling. So once that's over, you're just going to see oil pumping up again. And another aspect of this is the derivatives market versus the physical market. So at the moment, the derivative market of basically paper oil is pricing at a much lower level to what the physical market wants to price at. So there's a bit of a disconnect. So recently I heard about Saudi Arabia getting annoyed at the derivative market for the oil price that is done on the COMEX, and that they're going to be, I can't remember if they said they're slowing down production or they'll halt production. They're probably going to be slowing down production because they think the paper market for gold is the paper market for oil is too low, and that basically they're going to force it to go up by producing less. So that's my basic thesis for oil going up at the moment. The short-term effects are going to be Saudi Arabia reducing the amount they're producing of oil, and then the secondary effect is obviously America stopping how much reserves they're selling. That will end. I think it said it's going to end in October, so when that happens, it's going to be going back up to the short term, and then long term is going to be all the underinvestment that is happening to the energy sector, because the government is trying to steer the ship of the economy into favouring one type of energy production versus another type, and that will just end in disaster. So I don't know what the time frame will be on that. That could be 5 or 10 years into the future, but that's where you probably start seeing really deep ramifications of what's been going on. So the next part I want to touch on is how gold in the future is going to be going higher in the future, but this is more speculative if these certain things occur. So the first part to this puzzle is we have the petrodollar at the moment. So all oil is denominated in dollars, as most people already know. And Saudi Arabia, I think, sells, I think they sell 30% of the oil, or they make up 30% of OPEC. I can't remember now off the top of my head. It's one of those. They produce a lot of oil. And Saudi Arabia, there's been rumours of it apparently potentially joining the BRICS nations. So then if this happens, they're going to be moving from a Western-centric to a more Eastern-centric sort of political play. And then if that happens, I think they'll abandon the petrodollar at that point. And then this sort of it fits perfectly with this idea that the BRICS nations are then also producing their own world reserve currency. You don't really know what it is at the moment. People think it's either going to be a basket of commodities and a mixture of a basket of currencies as well. I think it's more likely to be more of a basket of commodities, and I think gold is going to be the perfect commodity that would fit within this, because if you're one of these BRICS nations, the reason for BRICS even existed is to get out of the dollar centric system. And then you have to ask, why do they want to get out of the dollar centric system? And the reason is they don't want to be holding dollars. And okay, why don't I want to be holding dollars? Because for the country that accepts dollars, it sucks, because you just have a load of dollars now in your foreign reserves, which the country that produces dollars can just keep basically printing those dollars. So you're accepting a medium of exchange that is continuously depreciating. So why would you want to do that? It's great for the country that is the world reserve currency, because they can just basically export their inflation to the countries that then take in that currency. So if you're Russia or China, you don't want to be in that position. That's why this is happening in the first place. They're trying to get out of the dollar system because they don't want to be holding someone else's depreciating currency. So if you're Russia and China, why would you basically just switch your dollars for yuan? Or if you're China, why would you switch your dollars for rubles? I don't see why they'd want to do that, because you would just have the same problems. Instead of it being America, it's Russia instead. You could think, oh, maybe Russia will be more friendly to China, or China will be more friendly to Russia. But at the end of the day, all governments want power, and they don't want restraints. And having a fiat system makes it so they don't have restraints, because they can just keep printing their own, basically their own currency that they pay their debt in. But that has consequences. But if you're the world reserve currency, and that's not violated by anyone else, you can really abuse that, and that's what America's been doing. But I don't see why you'd want to go into that system and just trade America for China or Russia. It just doesn't make sense to me. So for me, I think, because if they go into that system, it just, well, if they don't adopt a king, basically, because they'd have to say, okay, Russia, you're king, or China, you're king, and you get to have the world reserve, or the BRIC reserve currency. You get to have the BRIC reserve currency. They could either do that, or no one becomes the BRIC reserve currency out of all the countries in it. So then you just have this system of all racing to the bottom, where India trades with Russia, and China trades with India, and basically everyone's trading with each other, but everyone's given their own depreciating currencies. So no one's going to want to do that, because everyone's just going to be inflating and then passing it on to the other person, and it's just going to be the hot potato of everyone passing around their currencies and making it worse. And then the third option would then be the sensible option, even though governments hate doing the sensible option, and that would be to have a gold standard where it's no one else's liability. So if then they did that, that would obviously cause a huge demand in gold, because now it's being traded between a huge amount of the world's population for the settlement of trade. So if Saudi Arabia leaves and they join BRICS, and then they actually go ahead with making their world reserve currency, I see that as more of a probable outlook of happening. Also, you'd have to ask yourself, if that situation then does happen, what would happen to America? Because it's losing its petrodollar status. I would imagine the US dollar would depreciate a lot in value. It would be losing demand for the dollar itself, and I think you'd see a flight to safety within America, because now they can't export their currency to, say, China or India or Russia or any of these places. So then once that happens, people are going to want to hold a safe asset as their currencies continue to rapidly depreciating. So then, and then also, you've got when that happens, and then Russia and China settle in gold, you'd have gold becoming more appreciated in value, because now it's been settled in trade, and your currency you settle in is now being depreciated because it has less demand. So then you'd see, oh well, gold's doing well. I'm going to trade in my now depreciating dollars for gold, and then that's going to send it even higher. So that would be my take on the potential future for gold and oil. But these timelines, I mean, this could be like a decade away. So I wouldn't say don't get gold now, but don't hope on this happening tomorrow or within a month. This is like a sort of long-term sort of idea that I think is plausible of happening. If you like this content, please give it a like down below. I'd love to hear your comments on what you think might happen, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks.